Greetings. Everything should be working. This is Christine Bundy on Indiana. It is Wednesday, the 22nd of February of 2023. If you can, it says everything is live and recording, so I'm going to keep going with it because one way or another I do know it records to my computer as well as let me get this set up a little bit easier here so we get all of the better view, and then we'll get things rolling as others come in. The chat is available. Let's see how I can be able to view those. So I may have to minimize this to be able to keep the chat up here so we can be able to see those as they're coming in. So you'll want to go ahead and first thing get some things going here. So let me put this. This is probably going to be a better place here because I think my camera is here. Yeah, we'll give this. That way we can get the date in there in time. All right, so if you are wanting to comment, and I hope you are, to be able to like and subscribe and share as well. Don't forget, got to get in that practice. You'll want to subscribe to be able to leave a message. I think you'll have to wait about 10 minutes before you can be able to comment. So you'll want to go ahead, if you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and get subscribed so that you can get that 10 minutes started so that you can be able to respond through the chat session to be able to, so I can be able to interact with you all. Okay, so I want to welcome you all to the first general education call on YouTube. I had done it back in like 2019, maybe 2020, but through more so of Facebook, and then posted videos to YouTube. So it's been a while of even being in the social media aspect anymore. So bear with me as I'm working through figuring how to work through the different tools again and getting things moving forward. So Wednesday nights, it will be Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Indiana Assembly channel for YouTube. An email will go out, as well as when you subscribe, you can get notifications, right, through YouTube, is my knowledge of that so at this point, as well as that there are other ways that you can be able to connect in to be able to get notifications. If you are already connected in with the Indiana Assembly and with the LRO, Land Recording Office, you'll know what that means as we go along if you don't already, that you can be able to connect in as well. So, and that would give you the emails of notifications as to when the calls are going. Now, we had the General Assembly, excuse me, the Indiana General Assembly held an election as to when a day and time would be convenient to be able to come for general education calls, and those that voted through that process, the Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, won out. It was the majority of the vote. So that's what we are going with, and we're starting with this. So Wednesdays, every week on Wednesdays, weekly Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, we'll be here with general education. And I'm going to give you ways throughout that you can be able to help be interactive and be a part of building the general education program. All right, so, and you do not have to currently be a American State National, papered up or armored up, to participate with these calls. You do not even have to live on Indiana, currently calling Indiana your home. That is, it is preferred, as this is for the Indiana Assembly, so I'm the state coordinator, and I'll give you more information about that. But if you are on another state, I would be able to give you support in that as well, to be able to connect with your state. So we'll go ahead and get things moving forward. As you should be able to see in the screen that I've got the chat box up. So again, you'll have to, it says you have to wait 10 minutes once you subscribe before you can comment. So go ahead and get your subscribe in so you can be able to comment. Give it so it has that 10-minute time to be able to, so you can be able to comment, because there are opportunities to participate. Okay. Let's get going. So again, I am Christine Michelle Bundy. I'm the state coordinator and lead recording secretary for the Indiana Assembly Unincorporated, and you will learn more as we go along here. All right, so the agenda, we'll have a brief segment of introduction, and then we're going to go through to give you more knowledge about the name and the autograph, going through information about the flag, and I probably should have gone ahead and pluraled it because there's more than one flag. The status, what the different statuses are, and then support links and topics, and then we'll have a time for questions at the end. I do want to note that if you have been following other freedom movements, not that they're not important, that everybody has been on this same journey to awaken, and that every single one of these leaders and these freedom movements, they've all been needed to be able to bring this forward, because every one of us are going to make this happen. However, their processes are not a part of this. Okay? So we're not going to be going through other groups' programs, and if you have been following other groups' programs, do not address them in the comments, and do not, because I won't read them and I'll end up having them, because that's not what we're here for. We're here to focus on the content materials that are brought forward here. If you want to focus on those other freedom movements, content and material, you're more than welcome to, because you're your own man or woman. But you'll need to go to those groups and the people that are there to listen to that. That's not what we're here for on this call. All right. So, introduction. This is the place to be for Indianians and Americans across the country to learn how to live as an American. Because we don't realize that we've all been programmed to be U.S. citizens, that we don't really even know what it means to live as an American. The de facto false government infiltrated every area of our lives, and we'll need to deprogram the generational spell curse. The poison is in the spelling, right? Curse is also cures. The cure is in the curse. Notice, if you're seeking a battle at all, whether with the de facto or anyone else that doesn't agree with your opinions, then go somewhere else. Here you're going to learn about who you are, where you are and aren't, where you do belong and don't, in every aspect of our lives. And that's not through this one call here. It's through as we're going through these general education calls moving forward each week. See how we were manipulated through our faith, family, and food to twist and pervert a pimpocracy, pushers, pimps, pedophiles. I got that information from Santos Bonacci. He's a YouTuber, Mr. Astrotheology, for those comments. But it's true, right? Every bit of that is true. Learning to live without the U.S., United States, and its codes and statutes as part of your daily conversation in home, school, and work. Okay, and notice I put work there because as a U.S. citizen, you're on the job, and religion reinforced that by teaching about the book of Job, right? Job is a job, it's a chore, it's just over broke. That's all a job is, working for someone, giving your sweat equity to someone else that's also stealing your taxes, stealing money out for the taxes. Whereas we're here to do work. We're here to spread the good news. We're here to stop the liars, and we're here to bring the truth back in and correct the record. And if that's not what you're here for, we love you, but you'll want to go ahead and leave the call at this point then. All right, so I am Christine Michelle Bundy. I'm a Florida native, domiciled on Indiana since fall of 1998. My husband and I, we've been happily married for 27 years, and we have 3 children that all 3 are between the 2 of us. We're their same parents, and one of the things that because our oldest is going to be 27 in August. And then our middle child, the second one, she'll be 26 in August. And they both had said, even back when they were in middle school, that we were the only family that still had the same parents in their group of friends that they were with. So, and at this point in time, we are still the same. We are still the only ones in their group of friends, circle of friends, even their newer circle of friends as they've gotten older. I first published paperwork February of 2018 on Marion County, and then Flathead County, Montana, 2019. I did not, and then that information then was moved forward over onto the LRO. It still maintained the recording at Flathead County. I did not carry forward what I had with Marion County, because at the time, albeit it was a publishing of my first time of going through the whole freedom thing, it was honest paperwork, but I modified the paperwork, and I wasn't in any way, shape, or form in a place that I was ready to have the authority to think that I could be able to modify the paperwork. So, but it was my first publishing. It is still on the Marion County record, so that does at least maintain. But as through using honest paperwork process completely, Flathead County, Montana, 2019, and then in 2020, when the LRO Land Recording Office was made available for all the state assemblies, when it went online, then I also published my records there, and that's where everything is at anyway. And the only things that were on either Marion County or Flathead were the 928s. Everything else, because I'm armored up at this point, so everything else is on the LRO. So I've been state coordinator and recording secretary since fall of 2019. We did have a second recording secretary, but with the season changing and life changing, it's completely understandable she was not going to be able to put in what we had, what is actually needed to be able to make this happen. So, so it was best that she go ahead and step back at this time so that she can live her life. Your family has to come first. That should always come first. And so we're very grateful to her. So we're always seeking now, which we were as well previously, but as more and more Indianians are stepping up looking for more information. My screen is curved. I'm sorry, I don't know why that would be. Okay. I don't know. I welcome you, I welcome you, Casey, for making that comment. Thank you. I'm not sure. This is only like the second time even doing this. Sunday night was the first time, so bear with me as I'm working through the tech. Maybe sometime I will figure out what's going on with that. But thank you and welcome to the call. All right, so okay, so on Marion County, and so my husband and our children, we first moved to Indiana. We moved to Lawrence County in fall of 1998 from Florida, and so we were on Lawrence County from fall of 98 until April of 2011, where we moved to downtown Indianapolis, but we had the opportunity where we bought a home outright at the time. And that home, we had the opportunity to sell that home we closed September 30th of 2020, and then we closed on the house September 30th, 2019. March 2020, the whole world did the shutdown thing, right? So it was a little interesting through that time. So we had to we were in a rental through that period. And then March of 2022, we decided to go ahead and make the move south, and we moved to Gibson County. So we've now been in Gibson County since March of 2022. Which, by the way, there is a massive storm that's rolling through, and we're under a tornado watch. So should I lose signal, at least still stay on the call. I will get back as soon as I possibly can. Otherwise, the presentation link is in the description. And you'll be able to go to the YouTube channel for the Indiana Assembly there to be able to get the recording of what did get recorded, and at least all of the presentations. You'll have that information. Okay, so we'll keep going on here. Okay, so this is where we're going to go ahead and get your first name and the county on Indiana that you currently inhabit today. So this is some of the new language you're going to want to start creating your own lexicon as opposed to a dictionary, because you're going to repurpose your words. You've got to change the programming, how you're using them, because all the words that we were using as U.S. citizens do not apply here. One of which is, as U.S. citizens are residents, whereas Americans were domiciled, but we inhabit the land, right? We inhabit that space. That's where we actually live and call home. A resident is just borrowing the space for a while, but it's not really theirs. But that's also that little tango that they neglect to tell you, that when you go get that driver's license or ID, that as soon as you put that address and you have that ID or driver's license by default, because there's nowhere on there would it identify that for you, even if you said you're a non-resident, it doesn't identify that in any way. So they automatically unlawfully convert you into a resident when you get that, especially the driver's license. All right, Casey from Clay County, welcome. All right, we'll keep going, and as others come in and make comments, I'll get those in as well. All right, so we'll go ahead and get this first one going here. I hope this shares like I want to. All right, so let's see. This is the one. Okay, so I've gone out to, we call it TASA, the American States Assembly. I don't want to do that. I want to play it. Okay. Oh, that's the share thing. Hold on, that should let me get it bigger. Okay, so we call it TASA, the American States Assembly, and so it's TASA.AmericanStateNationals, nationals is plural.org. Okay, so here is a short video, and I may have to, if you do not, let me know if you don't see or hear it. I should be able to.
Okay, so Terry Song here, and we are diving into our information about the fraud that has been committed against us. And this segment is going to cover the Justinian deception. And Romley Stewart out of Australia has done an incredible amount of research and work, and put out a ton of videos, books. I'm sure I haven't seen one, but he must have them out there. And it has become quite the expert at explaining Justinian deception. So what I would like to do is I would like to share a video by Romley Stewart where he explains the Justinian deception in under 4 minutes.
The Justinian deception is a system that removes the public from the public domain into the private contracts of Rome, and therefore in order to forego justice. So in short, all the rights, the common law rights that a person has from the public, if they enter into the private laws of Rome, the private contracts of Rome, they will lose all their God-given rights to common law justice and will be subjected to just the contracts and statutes of Rome. So that's what the Justinian deception is, and it's the hidden system that deceives you from going from public to private. It's a deception.
And it dates back to Emperor Justinian
in 530 to 560 roughly AD, and he created a thing called the corpus juris, which is the language or the speaking or the jurisdiction of the dead. So therefore, what he did, in order to bring living men under with no rights, he legally killed or illegally sacrificed the children at birth. That's what birthing is all about. A man is born into existence, but is birthed into a form of legal death. And once you've been birthed into legal death and you remain there, then a dead man has no rights. So what the Justinian deception does is attaches the living man to a dead thing, and then once the attachment is made, the dead account is what is attacked by the government, and while the living man is attached to the dead account, it is assumed that the living man is dead.
And I know that in our conversations, our many conversations over the months, you've repeatedly drawn attention to that document called the birth certificate. You've even opened our eyes to the fact that there are several versions of it. Not two people identified on the one document, but several versions of the document recording the day or date when a person left their mother's surrogacy.
Well, there's even a church birth certificate, and it's different again, but it's the same. It gives you your Christian name, the date of birth of it. It's just like a state birth certificate, but it's one that's filed in the church. And in my case, because I was born when the Church of England Church was still in Australia, and I think just after 73, the Unincorporated Treaty of Rome, the Church of England Church became the Anglican Church, which is under the control of the Vatican. So all of my records were taken from St. John's Church of England Church. It became the Vatican-owned church, and my records were sent to Townsville. So there's another birth certificate there, but you're right, the birth certificates are the things that have legally set up the trust. That's why in general in the government there are two birth certificates. One is a creditor and one is a debtor. And it's where you stand in those, within those two certificates, that governs whether or not you are the debtor or the creditor of the government. So let's say that's how it works.
So there you have it. That is the Justinian deception. And when we come back, we are going to talk a little bit about jurisdictions and what the jurisdictions are and why they're important. So, see you soon.
Okay, so all right, we're not going to go into that one at this point in time, but in the presentation I have a link to, there are 6 articles where Anna went through explaining she calls it the dead baby scam. And so that's the link there to it. There are 6 articles, as well as if you are already in the LRO, the Land Recording Office, you should be receiving the emails where it's coming through as an automation. So you can receive it daily, or you can go to this link to go ahead and read through them. It is very it's harsh. It's harsh as to how they did this. It's very, very deceitful. So that's the links to her articles there. All right, so here is about the name. All right, so the reason when Romley Stewart in the video, when he was talking about the Justinian deception of how this happened through the birth certificate. Okay, so in the middle first, they convinced parents that you had to have your baby in the hospital, that it was uncivilized. You could be harming your baby to have your baby at home. You need to have your baby in the hospital. Even though women have been having their babies at home for centuries, millennia, right? No, they convinced that you needed to go to a hospital to have your baby. Now, before they hijacked it over here in the other countries, they created hospitals. That's part of their secret rings that they use because it's all about the death, so that they can capture the afterbirth as well as for those that die, right? So they convinced mothers that they had to have it. It was the safest thing. It was the safest thing for their child, that they needed to have their baby in the hospital and not have their baby at home. And then while they're still in the hospital, while dazed and confused, after literally going through all of that to produce another living being out of her body, they shove you with all this paperwork to fill out and don't explain anything other than this is just the usual paperwork that all the other mothers do when they take care of this. They usually fill this out while they're in their time, while they're waiting here before they're able to go home. And then on that birth certificate, you will see, if you look down at the bottom, it'll say where the mother's name is listed is usually at the box, the cell that is in, the box that is in says informant. And they used the mother to sell the child, in a sense. So through the birth certificate, that is where the trade name gets lost at sea, because that's when the last name is added to the first and middle name. Because when my parents created me, which I ended up going back to my birth certificate name through this process. This was not something you have to do. This was a growing process that I needed to go through for me. But point being, that my parents didn't say, when someone asked them, well, what are you going to name your child? They didn't say, oh, we're going to name her Christine Michelle Bundy. No, they said, we're going to call her Christine Michelle. They didn't say that they would name. You usually don't say your naming for the most part until that's ended up working into the general conversation now. But my parents and my family my parents called me Christine Michelle. It was the birth certificate that added Bundy that created that trade name. Then they stole it because it was all done in the hospital by officials, right? So then it first went over here to the left, and this is how they created the all caps name of the trademark estate. That's everything. That's everything that could ever possibly be you, that you could possibly imagine, even your stuff, including any of your products. Because if you got married, and you got the marriage license, then you were a merger of two corporations that had that silent third party of the state, and any products from the marriage, which are the children, are also responsibility of the state. So that's also why you don't want to put them on on school property, because then you're literally putting them in their possession. Okay, so then from the trademark estate name, so they've already captured everything, because that's where they start out with the estate. That's why the whole court system is about probate, because they're already saying you're dead right there, and so that means that everything goes right there. So then they split out to give the middle initial. That's the transmitting utility, because that's usually the one they're looking for to have just a continuous energy connection tapped into you from that one. That's why it's called a transmitting, a continuing utility, continuing on. Then the John Doe, where it's the first and last name, that's the ward of the state. That's your physical vessel. That's the one, if they're going to arrest, summons, anything like that, that's the one they want when they're calling for the vessel that's holding the spirit. Okay, and here is a link to this diagram. This is a great one-pager to be able to keep so that you can review that as a reminder as to what the different names are and how they split the name. All right, so here, I'm not going to read through any of these, but here is a list of different articles from Anna about the importance of the name and how they used it against us and why you need to know the purpose of it and how each name has its own jurisdiction. All right. Okay, so here is also learning about the autograph. You do not have a signature. U.S. citizens have signatures because they're just going to sign for anything. We have autographs. Living beings have autographs. So here is a link that has more information about the autograph. Here is also an example because it's more than just your paperwork for your status correction, but it's now moving forward for anything that you do. This is the autograph. Even if it has it already printed on the paper, typed in the BY colon and the copyright symbol, you still put it in your own wet ink because it's your own wet ink. Okay? Even when you are using the thumbprint and when you're applying the thumbprint seal, it goes over the last part of the last name and the copyright symbol. You're only going to use the thumbprint. Well, all of your status correction documents are going to include the thumbprint. Your notice letters are not going to need the thumbprint unless it's like because the cover letters, none of the cover letters are going to need the thumbprint. But like you have the Declaration of Political Status, it'll need the thumbprint on it, but not the cover letter. Okay? But moving forward, your autograph, if it's not an important document, it's going to be this one here on the left, moving forward. And I've provided a link here that gives you a breakdown of the name and the autograph. And then here is a link of how to autograph the paperwork, because it also depends on how is the name presented in the paperwork, depends on how you're going to autograph as the owner, authorized representative for the name that you're autographing for. So you'll need that information for the various documents. For example, like the acts of expatriation will have a different way to autograph. So and it goes through that. And then here is a link to search Audubon rights. I've gone ahead and put in for the search parameter of parse syntax, so it'll go ahead and pull the search results for you. What is parse syntax? I've given an example of when you'll see that some have been putting colons and hyphens and period within the name. And some have even gone further and been able to do the same with the regular text as well. It's a different. Yes, it is. It technically, grammatically, yes. If we were taught the correct way to use the punctuations, there are more ways they should have. They're supposed to have been applied. However, at this point in time, because we didn't know this, Russell J. Gould, another freedom movement, he has copyrighted this called parse syntax of using the colon, all the commenting marks in this way. He's copyrighted that. So you're not going to be able to use that to publish that to a record. And it is not actually, you normally wouldn't autograph that anyway, autograph in that way anyway. Now, had you really had, I mean, it's probably even been before what was considered of creating America, before of actually it ever really even being used anywhere remotely correctly. So there's no way to really get that true, to learn how to actually use those correctly in that manner, unless you're wanting to get involved in parse-in text, but it's been copyrighted. So anyway, Anna goes into articles where she gives more information and explains it much better than I as to the parse syntax. All right. Now we're going to go into the flag. There are actually 3 flags. This is the actual flag because no war has ever actually officially been called. It's just that they decided to slide in these 2 and nobody said anything. This is the military flag. And then you've seen these before, or some have, where it has the gold fringe where it is kicked it into Admiralty for a war flag. These are in the courts. These are what you're going to see for the most part outside. And if you'll notice at the post offices, they have this flag on top. Some have the fringe, some don't, but they have this on top, and then below it is the POW MIA flag, because they're the prisoner caught in this as well. They think they're doing the right, and they don't even know that that's the flag, why that flag, the POW MIA flag, is even being used. All right. But it's also an in our face, as every time we go by a U.S. Postal Service, of that it is the Americans that are MIA. It's the Americans that are missing in action of actually being there to defend the land. And that's what we're here for. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and go into that video on jurisdictions that followed up next. Because that's what that video. Okay, should be this one.
Greetings. My name is Terry Som, and I am a coordinator for the Washington Assembly that is here in Washington. I'm also the super coordinator for the American States Assembly, which is our Federation of States. I am going to be doing a series of videos to help people understand the importance of correcting your status, coming home to the land and soil jurisdiction, and the importance of joining your assembly, your state assembly, and the importance of the work that we are doing not only in the state assembly, but also as the federation.
I'm going to see if I can get it, because evidently I can share in the, oh no, it's still on the, I apologize, I'll keep it going. I thought if I could actually get it to YouTube, I can cut out some of the missing. Okay, I'll just leave it alone.
States. And that work is the reconstruction of our lawful government. And we're going to talk about all of this process in a series of videos. They will be short videos, anywhere from 3 to 7 minutes, taking a look at a particular topic or aspect of what it means to be an American state national or an American state citizen, to be a member of your assembly, and to understand the work that needs to be done in order to restore our lawful government. So the first thing that I would like to do, I'm going to do a screen share here, and I am going to explain the situation of what has been done. And for this I'm going to take you to a website, one of our websites. We have several. This is a Sign in America website, and you can reach this website at signinamerica.com. It starts with a special message from Audubon Rights, and I would encourage you to read that. So we begin with those of us who were born in America, in one of these actual states. And you can see that each state has a distinct outline which defines that state. And that becomes the physical boundaries of the state. We are all about being real. We are real men, real women. We live in real cities, real counties, and real states. And that may sound like an odd statement to you, but as we go through the information, you'll begin to see why, pardon me, being real is very important, because most of the world that we live in, most of the world that we grew up in, is not real. So let's take a look. Your identity was stolen, and you need to know that. Your identity was stolen at birth. And on top of it, you have then been unlawfully converted and mischaracterized and misidentified as a United States citizen, and then redefined as a citizen of the United States, which is a municipal citizen. Neither one of these persons are you. And the remedy to that is to do what we call correcting your status and coming home to the land and soil. And then after we correct our status, we then join our assembly and work to restore our lawful government. So what does it mean? What do I mean when I say your identity has been stolen? So let me give you an example here. And I need to share this screen. So I'm going to share this document with you. And here we go. Give me a moment. There we go. So this is my birth certificate. And I would encourage you to get yours and take a look at it, because we're going to look at some things that you probably never noticed before. So first of all, look at your name. And look at the names of your mother and your father. They're in all caps, all capitals. And we're not sure why at this particular point in time, because here they use proper case, but yet the name of myself and my mother and my father are in all caps. That's odd. Well, let's look down here. This is my mother's name, and it says signature of parent or other informant. What does that mean? And then signature of attendant and signature of local registrar. And then it has the date that I was born and the hour. And then it also has the date accepted by the local registrar, the date accepted by the Register General, and then evidence for delayed filing or alteration. And that's because they couldn't settle on a name for me. And this is just a copy of my birth certificate. This is actually what they call a long form birth certificate. I'll show you a short form birth certificate. And so I'm going to stop sharing on this. And I've got my fully authenticated birth certificate here. This is authenticated by the State Department with the brass ring. And it's got the certification of authentication also from the state of Hawaii, where I was born. And then finally, it's got a lot of other papers and things like that. But you get down to the actual short form of the birth certificate. And you can see that it is a short form because there isn't much data on there. It's kind of minimal, and it's hard to see all of it because they've got everything stapled here. But it's a lot less information than what is on the long form that I just showed you. Now let's take a look at some other things. Let's look at my driver's license. You see my name there? My name is also in all caps right up here. And I'm trying to get it focused, but it's a little bit difficult. And then look at my AAA card. There's my name in all caps again. Look at my American Express card. This one's going to be harder to see, but it's right down here. That's in all caps too. There's another card that I hold. That one's in all caps, but they have Terry K-Som on that one. What's that? So take a look at this bill, and once again, there is my name in all caps, and it's that transmitting utility name. So what the heck is going on here? Well, let me share another screen with you here. We're going to go back to this document and share. And what I have is, let's see, I need to get, oh, sorry, give me just a second. Okay, so I'm going to share this diagram for you. And this is what we lovingly call the diagram of the fraud. And it says it's diagramming the most blatant and largest fraud in the history of the civilized world. So what has happened is your parents gave you a name. And at birth, that was your name. And notice the different spelling, Terry K. Aloha Harris, which is my maiden name. And this is your trade name, also known as your trade name. What has happened is when your mother signed the birth certificate, they unlawfully converted your name into this all caps name, and they created what's called a Sesta KV Estate Trust from the all caps name. And they deposited money into this trust and began doing business in your name throughout your whole entire life. And they did all kinds of business using this name. This is what's called a special purpose vehicle. So this is your Sesta estate trust name, but remember that other one, the transmitting utility name on the card and on the bill, that is called a transmitting utility. And this was created in 2015 by Obama. And they created this other special purpose vehicle because this estate over here was involved in one of the corporate bankruptcies. And so because it was then tied up in the corporate bankruptcy, they had to create a new special purpose vehicle so that they could continue doing the fraud using your name. And then finally, down here at the bottom, you have your first name, last name. And typically this is used when they are looking at you as a ward of the state. Because they've unlawfully converted your name and laid claim to all your assets and became a business partner, if you will, but you were never informed of it. And they are controlling the business that's being done in your name, then you own nothing, you have nothing, and therefore you must be taken care of. And that's why you're the ward of the state. So this is the diagram of the fraud that has been committed against you when your mother signed her name to your birth certificate. Now, remember I showed you my authenticated birth certificate. So this is on bond paper. And when your mother signs her name, that actually monetizes the bond. And this bond then is traded on the open market. Yep. Hard to believe, but that's what's happened. So I hope that this first video segment has helped you understand a little bit of the fraud that has been committed against you, the identity theft that has been committed against you. And I would encourage you to take a look at your own information, and you'll see that all of your bills, all of your credit cards, most of your accounts that you hold, if you have an IRA or some type of a 401k account, a trade account, it's all in the all caps name. And nowadays they're using that transmitting utility because of the bankruptcy that occurred in 2015. So when I return, we are going to take a look at the Justinian deception, which deals with the conversion of names. And we will cover that with the help of our friend, Romley Stewart. We'll see you soon.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get back to here. So here are these links are from Anna. This is a little bit more detailed about how the actual structure should be for America, and this is a chart version, and the links are there for those. All right, so as we're going through here, we're going to do one more short video. This, I think, is the last one in this. Where did you go? Oh, because maybe it's on the first page. Here it is. Okay. So let's make it a little bigger here. There we go. So then here is, let me go ahead and clear that up. So here is also a chart that gives you more detail, obviously, than on this hat display there, but it is a poignant message that was the subtleness of the changes. It was literally that much of a shift in the change to get every one of us to buy into it. It is just like with they would literally just change the name overnight, but yet didn't change any of the practices or the business that was going on. There's an analogy of you can put a different shade of pink, or even go into a whole other different shade of lipstick, but if it's still a pig, it's still a pig. right? So things to think about. And no matter, even if they decide to change the name for whatever it is, but they still haven't changed any of the practices of what they're doing, then it's the same pig, right? All right, so here is more, like I said, here is more detail of the breakdown of the three branches of the American government. And we're on this side here. And this is where we're missing. So this is another one that is a great one-pager to be able to print out. Here is the link here so that you can be able to study this and get to know this. All right. Here are because of all of this, there are 5 different statuses of the citizen, of the American, or of the, whatever. You're either going to be part of as a state citizen for America, the federal government, territorial, or municipal. And here is a breakdown. Here is another one-pager. The link is here. That is a great one to just keep with you, to just continuously read, to digest that, as well as it is a great thing that if you have it in your hand, one, do it in a time that you have some off time, that you probably would have been playing a game on your cell phone, or you would have been checking emails. Just pull this out to read through it, as well as it's a great conversation starter. So those that see you reading it and you're not doing your norm on the cell phone or doing something else, they're going to say, well, what is this all about? And you'll be able to start sharing the good news, right? Okay, so here, as an American, there's state national or state citizen. A state national, you feel you don't owe any allegiance to the state, but you were born on the land and soil of America, and to be able to claim your status in that. As a state citizen, then you're not only you've declared that you are clear that you were born on the land, but you've gone further to go ahead and cancel all those contracts, and that you feel a duty and obligation to be able to stand up and support the reconstruction of the actual government that we were supposed to have. Or there's the other opportunities that if you wanted to still be considered a federal United States citizen, or a territorial United States citizen, or a municipal citizen of the United States. And so you'll be able to read there, and it'll tell you, but I figured the point of what you're trying to get out of it is all of this over here. So, but here is the link to be able to, for a printout of this, so you can have that with you. All right, the current status of Indiana. At this point in time, of the 92 counties, 26 counties are populated. What does populated mean? That at least one Indianian on that county has at least presented and put on the record that they've put on the record their 1779 declaration, 2 witness testimonies, and presented the birth certificate to the assembly. Once that occurs, you're populating the county, as well as you're automatically populating the state at the same time. So at this point in time, there are 26 counties that have at least one national that has Indianian that has papered up. And at this point in time, there are 32 Indianians that are armored up. Therefore, they're eligible to be jurors with the assembly. And start building the juror assembly pillar, and start working through cleaning up the court system. Then there are 57 that are papered up. They've at least presented like I said, the 1779 Declaration of Naturalization, also known as a one-pager, presented their 2 witness testimonies and birth certificate, and may have presented some other things. but the 32 Indians that are armored up, that's more than enough to start getting the litigation committee pulled together and start building to have at least a first base court to start setting things up. And as you're getting emails from because you are in our LRO and email process, you'll get more information on this as you go along. So what is considered papered up? So like I said, it's the presenting to the assembly the birth certificate. The birth certificate is not published viewable to the record, but it is put into your LRO member record so that it's seen for assembly members to verify that it was there and that you can be able to see it, but it's not viewable to the public. The 2 witness testimonies are published there, so they are viewable. So I do try to remind the witnesses that they do have to present one of the 3 options of a contact information, either email, address, or phone number, but remind them that it is published, viewable to the public. It's not like it's put out there, say, hey, everybody look here. It's obviously only going to be those that are specifically looking up that one's name to be able to look it up, but it would be there. All right, and then either the 1779 Declaration of Naturalization, which is also known as a one-pager. Some misinterpret that and want to go ahead and make it bigger and stretch it out to where then the notary block is on a second page. But the whole point is that it's called, also known as a one-pager, because it is one page. All right, so it's either the 1779 Declaration, or if not the 1779 Declaration at all, then it would have to be all of the 928s or the 1779. But some have been presenting the 1779 and then parts of the 928 bundle. Now, within the 928 bundle, the very first document is the Acknowledgement and Deed of Reconveyance. Those are for those that were born on one of the 50 states. If they were born on a territory, or one of the or another country, then they're either going to be they'll use the deed of conveyance. Then there's the certificate of assumed name that trademarks and copyrights all the names, so that you're able to operate in private trade. This is very beneficial for women, especially that have had name changes, so that it captures all the names, especially if you have children, so that if there are times where you have to act in the capacity of like a former your divorced name because your child is dealing with your child or something like that. In that moment, you have full right and authority to be able to act in that capacity because you've included it in your names. Depends on what you're needing it for, and then what the jurisdiction is and how you apply it. Then there's the act of expatriation. The acts of expatriation is not you, the living man or woman, expatriating. It's you're expatriating the fraudulent person that was created and the 3 different names: the trademark estate, the transmitting utility, and the ward of the state. So it is the expatriating the persons, the all caps names, but you're autographing in the capacity of being the authorized representatives for the all caps names. So for example, the one that has the trademark estate, you'll still autograph with your bicolon, upper lowercase, okay, but it'll be your first, full, middle, last name, copyright, thumbprint. The second one, the transmitting utility, so you'll autograph it bicolon, first name, middle initial, last name, copyright, and thumbprint. Again, upper lowercase, cursive. Then you'll do the ward of the state, which is the first and last name, so bicolon, first name, last name, and the copyright and thumbprint. Upper lowercase, in cursive. Then there's the cancellation of prior power, and you'll have a set of 3 for each of the names that you've had. Okay, so you'll have a set of 3 for each of those. Now, and again, that's for the person, the unlawful person that was created. Then there's the cancellation of prior powers of attorney. Now, you'll only have one of those per the last name that was used. And so you'll autograph just one of them with the first, full, middle, and last name. Obviously, your bicolon, copyright, and thumbprint. But you only have one of those for each of the names that were used, whereas the act of expatriation is for each the set of 3 variation for each name. Cancel a prior power. So example, women, cancel prior power of attorneys. You will have one that will have your birth certificate name, one will have your married name. If you did get divorced and remarried, then you would have another one for your new name that you're going with. But you'll only have one of those for each of those, because that's then you, the living man or woman, canceling any prior powers of attorney. Now, say you're in a situation where you have a family member that you have like a medical power of attorney for them or something along that nature. There is a version of the cancel prior power of attorneys that has with an exception for those situations. Given the way the environment was that we were put into, you have to have ways to be able to work through this as we're going along. Then there is the Mandatory Notice of Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, providing even all of the U.S. codes that identify that we have every right to this. Now, where the acknowledgement and deed of reconveyance, that's bringing you, the living man or woman, back on the land and your names. Okay, that's getting you onto the land. Then the certificate of assumed names is capturing all and trademarking all the names so that you have the ability to operate with them. The act of expatriation is expatriating all caps persons created. Cancel prior power of attorney is you, the living man or woman, canceling any power of attorneys that may or may not be in play, or may be in play you didn't know about. And then, of course, the mandatory notice. Now, you get to that paramount claim. That is the paramount claim of the life estate. It is now the last of the documents, because all of the paperwork previously from you coming back onto the land, bringing everything forward to showing that you have the authority even under their own codes. Now the paramount claim is taking you all the way back to even before you were in your mother's womb, because the Bible tells us that the Creator knew us before we were even in our wombs. So that's the full package with that 928 bundle to bring you full on the land, from the metaphysical as well aspect of it. Then your serving notice to cancel to formally notify them. Because it's one thing to do a piece of paper and get it notarized and get it published on a record, and many can do that. That's real easy to do. Anybody can come up with that, and they'll even pay someone to do the paperwork and are able to get right through it and get that done. But then wonder why things aren't changing when they haven't then followed through with doing the actual cancellations that need to follow through. You have to then serve them notice and start peeling it out. But you have to have the standing on the record, or they won't listen to you. Okay, so that is what is considered papered up. Okay, so what is armored up? So armored up is obviously going to be the 4 documents in the previous, the birth certificate, 2 witness testimonies, 1779, or now at this point for the paper for armored up, it's going to include the 928s and all of the 928s. Many want to only hit and miss in some of those, but it is, as armored up is all the 928s. Then there's also at that point, then you're eligible for American State National Credentials, where it has the scan code on it and link to be able to view all your documents. So that so it's a public access to be able to view your records. Then there's the common carry declaration. That is along the lines of the open carry, the gun permit type of thing. But it's also, think about it, is that you're choosing to walk in common at this point, and you're taking that authority and responsibility of whether you choose to or not to carry a weapon. But it's also, carry arms. So even because your paperwork is also considered part of your armory, tools in your armory, okay, because it's an extension of your arm. The Bill of Rights does not say that right to bear it has to have a barrel on it with a firing mechanism, and it has to have some form of powder to be able to create the fire. No, it doesn't say that. It says right to bear arms. So it's anything that is the extension of your arm. A pen is an extension of your arm onto that piece of paper, so that you're able to use your paperwork as well to be able to support you. The fee schedule. The fee schedule is a powerful tool at this point too, so that you can also start serving them notice that when they are acting inappropriately, you inform them that you're serving them notice with the fee schedule. Then if they do continue to impose and trespass on you, then you start serving them an invoice. You invoice them for what's listed on the fee schedule, and they'll already have had it. Now, does that mean that they're going to turn around and pay the thousands of dollars for the invoice for whatever they've trespassed? Probably not, but the point is trying to put it back in their face to get them to just stop it, right? And if you're only here to look for the money, then go somewhere else, because this is about correcting the record and getting this moving forward, because that money doesn't mean anything, as well as it's blood money at this point. Marriage record. There's a marriage record process that if you are getting married, there's a marriage of record on the website where the templates are at. If you're already married and your officiant is still available, they can be able to fill out that document for you. Otherwise, if you don't have the ability to access to be able to get that completed, there is a document that's canceling the contract with that license. Well, at some point you'll have to do that anyway, because if you did go ahead and get the marriage license, you're still going to need to go ahead and cancel the contract of sending notice. It's not like you're getting divorced, but your husband or wife that's on that license with you has to be a national as well, and be able to, because they're going to be autographing on that, canceling that contract. As well. So you both need to be on board with that. But that is something that it takes time as you're peeling through the process. There's a baby deed process. There's a baby deed. So when you present the baby deed, you're also going to present the birth certificate to the assembly with the baby deed. It gets a crimped seal because it's a deed. Don't scrimp on printing. The document is in red. Print it in red, and you will be printing your autograph in red, because it is a deed as an owner, because you have the ability to own. Either a parent or a grandparent that are nationals you don't have to be armored up to start the baby deed process, but you have to at least be papered up to be able to do the baby deed process. So it's the baby deed. Now the notary, state of Indiana still And some will tell you no, they don't do that anymore. That's not this, but state of Indiana still allows the notaries to have either a ink stamp or an embossed sealer. If they do not have an embossed sealer, not willing to use it or whatever, then send it send it to me, and I can be able to put the Assembly's embossed seal on it. And then you're going to send it with the cover letter that comes with, along with it. Then you're also going to send them certified. You're going to send the birth certificate, copy of the birth certificate with it. And you're going to send that registered mail, because on the baby deed itself at the top, it says IBL number. I think is the alphabet for it. But what you're putting there is a registered mail label number. You're walking in the door of the post office. It's free, but you have to walk up to the counter because they don't want you to have these. Let me pull this up so I can see that I'm showing these too. Okay, so it's a red and white label. That number, you're going to physically put it on that baby deed before you autograph it, and you're autographing in front of a notary, or if you're needing me as a recording secretary to support with that as well. But you're autographing it in front, but that number has to be already printed on that baby deed, and then it will be included on the cover letter, because then that's the actual mail label, because you will be sending it registered mail to the Secretary of State for the birth state for the child. And you'll do one for each child. It's not you put that label on each one of the letters, but then stuff them all into one envelope and mail. No, because those registered mail numbers become the actual recorded number that will follow with that child unless and until they decide that they don't want to be a national any longer. Okay, so this is not the time to scrimp on printing. It needs to be printed in red. The whole document is in red, other than the tree on the baby deed itself. It needs to have the embossed seal, and then you'll be mailing it registered mail with the registered mail label that you already got at the time of doing the baby deed before you got it notarized. Okay, so then there are the cancellation notices, revocation. You're conducting business, so this is not the time to scrimp on postage. And as living men and women, we're supposed to be using registered mail. Certified mail is their inner office mail. It's getting really hard to do the registered mail as much. So especially like if you're facing some kind of a court situation, and want to send something rush, but you are able to in those situations send it priority mail express, or send priority mail. That way you still have a tracking number that even if they never send you anything back, or they send a dummy letter of we received it but we need to take some time to review it. There's a lot of those default letters that go out because they're trying to see if you'll stay a little bit longer through the process. Anyway, so there's some cancellations to go through. So you're going to want to make sure you cancel the voter registration. And there's a form online, cancel Indiana voter registration. If you've registered and voted anywhere else, you're going to need to cancel the voter registrations there as well. And you'll want to verify it. You'll want to follow through. So you'll want to go to for example, for Indiana, there's the Indiana voter portal that you can do look up your details. See if you're listed. If there's nothing, if it shows that there's nothing there, you can do a screenshot and include that. revocation of election to pay taxes to IRS DC and New York. There are 2 letters. They're already addressed. It is going to the same man, but yet he's operating in 2 different capacities. It is these revocation of election to pay taxes that many want to forget doing, and they're already ready to jump to that employer to say, stop taking taxes out of my pay. Well, that's, Anna calls it putting the putting the cart before the horse, because there's a process. You can't just like quit and think that HR person or whoever that you work for is going to automatically say, okay, she said I could just stop taking taxes out, so I'm just going to stop doing it. They're not going to do, it's not that. It's still based on that living man or woman that you end up coming to as to what their knowledge is. But you've got to start first by canceling it through here first. Getting your standing, canceling the IRS, then you start working with your employer. Okay? If you start things beforehand, one, you don't even know how to articulate what's even going on, let alone how are you going to explain it to that one. So you've already shot yourself out there. And don't call me or email. You're not going to call me because I don't do phone calls anyway. But don't email saying, well, they don't know how to do this. Well, first off, their programming is, in their mind, you've already turned in paperwork that you're a U.S. citizen. They're not even computing yet comprehending what you're trying to even say at that point. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight, because it didn't happen overnight that got you in it. So you don't think that running right away first thing to get the payroll, to get them to stop stealing the money out of your paycheck, is going to be the answer first thing to do. It's not happening right away. Okay? So you need to take some time and do the homework first to get some knowledge before you start working through that process. As well as you're gaining standing, it's giving you more support. Okay? Then there's the declaration of political status. This too is a process like the baby deed. It is a declaration, so it too needs to have the embossed seal, and it has a cover letter to it. The cover letter, you're going to add whatever your mailing number is that you're using, tracking number, or whatever that you're using with it will be included on the cover letter itself. This is because, for the most part, a lot of places there's a mailing center that it goes to before it gets to the recipient, or they even have an assistant that opens it. And you could have gone through the whole thing and spent all the money on registered mail, but you never put it on that letter, and the envelope got thrown away. And so they won't even have known that you went through all of that by the time it gets to them. So that's why you want to make sure you reference it on that cover letter itself as well, so that they see, oh, that's a registered mail label number, or they did the tracking on it. I have to do my job at this point. Now, on the declaration of political status for the U.S. Secretary of State, you're not going to get it. You may get the green card back, but you're not going to get a response. If you send it to the Secretary of State for your birth state, some have been trying to kick it back, but that's all right. All you're doing is serving them notice. Okay, but it's also then you start tackling the other areas of pushing back. Okay? At this point in time, that's your record of you've got proof that what you mailed to them and you had tracking that they received the mail. They didn't return it to you. They actually received it, and that's all the point was. Now, the IRS, first thing they're going to do is they're going to send a default letter that's going to say, we've received your information and we need so much time before we respond. Okay? So, or it'll be a default trying to say it's a frivolous frivolous letter. Various things to try and be a fear tactic, but you'll see here these three things here. These are links, but they're also that gives you more information of working through that. Then there's severance with the with military branches. Same there. My husband, he sent his letter for the military, and they sent a letter back stating that they don't recognize the DD 2168, which is interesting because why would they have the form if they didn't acknowledge it? But whoever received it, their knowledge was that they didn't know. But the point was that it's on his public record that he served them notice for that. And any kind of license that you have, like real estate license, bar license, medical doctors, and so forth. The driver's license, right at this time, if you already have it, leave it at this point. The kind of situation that we're in, you might add to it this is still up to you, underneath your signature, you might write all rights reserved under it with a Sharpie, and on the back write retired, which you saw in the video earlier where Terry showed her driver's license where she had retired written on the back. CDLs. Technically, CDL is operating in commerce, so those that are using it in that time, they're subject to those laws when they're in that moment, and so they'll have to stay as nationals while they have a CDL, because there's times where they are operating in commerce, but they're not considered, a federal employee from that. But it's not one, but having a CDL is not canceling out one from being armored up. But if they have a real estate license, yeah, they're going to need to figure out something different with real estate. You can't tell me that they can't still support people with finding a home and not have to use the real estate. Same with the bar attorneys. As long as they're a bar attorney, they're supposed to actually be registered with FARA for the Foreign Agent Registry Act. Medical doctors, if they're keeping the license, then they're considered a federal employee. They're under all that subject to it. Okay, so you can do a search at searchaudubonrights.com, doing a subject search for license for support like that. Okay, so what topics would you like to learn more about? Email your suggestions to outreach at theindianassembly.org with the subject Gen Ed topics for YouTube. Note again that no support is going to be given for any other group's paperwork or their process. Don't try to bully and thinking that you're going to casually in a conversation try to coerce me into including some other groups. People have tried various different things. It's not happening. Other groups' stuff is not coming in here, nor is it going to get recorded on the land and soil. There's been times where people have tried to, did not bother to mention that they had additional paperwork from other groups and then buried it, literally had it buried within the documents that they sent for a recording. That's not going to work either. Okay? That's not being an American. That's still being a U.S. citizen that's still trying to lie and hide and deceive and coerce. And you can go right out there go back with other U.S. citizens for that kind of behavior. Nor am I the creator of any of that paperwork or have any knowledge of what's going on with that. So how can I possibly answer for any of that? Right? So don't bring it forward here. But if you have other topics to be able to help build this as working through this, there's also going to be various different topics because it did reach into all aspects of our life. All right, so here are various links that you can be able to go through to be able to support you. So here is some more videos from Terry of walking through your fear as you're still trying to figure this out, as well as we watched this one, your name, birth certificate, and diagram of the fraud and jurisdictions. But the other ones, these are all of them that are listed there. And then here is the link to schedule with me. I do not do phone calls. I am not one that is just going to pick up a phone call, because many think, well, it'll just be something that takes maybe 5-10 minutes and it turns into a couple hours. No. As well as I like to look at the one that I'm talking with. U.S. citizens love to be on the cell phone because you can hide a lot of things through the cell phone. And I like to be able to look at those that I'm talking with. So here is to be able to schedule. To also don't email of, well, when would be a convenient time for me. I'm presenting the times that I have available, and that's what I have to be able to work with, as I am at this point in time the main one for the state. So that's, and still be able to meet the needs of my family in this as well. So the schedule that is available there, otherwise I can work through with answering some questions through email, but it's also, I'm not going to just give you answers. This is not a hand holding deal. This is not a doing it for you. You have to do the homework to learn about all of this, to have the knowledge and to be able to articulate what is going on. Because you'll end up could be in a situation where you're dealing with that de facto, and you won't have a piece of paper with you, and you won't have someone that you know that has that. Are you gonna be able to articulate that knowledge yourself? Some of these de facto, they've been ugly and have been known to, even if you give them the paper, that they'll throw the paper away. They'll throw away the credential. It's, what do you know? How are you handling yourself? Because they'll see it in how you're presenting yourself if you actually know what you're doing. If you're acting like a wild animal, then yeah, they need you to take care of them. Take care of you for them. You need them to help you. But as Americans, we're here and we take care. We help support each other by bringing the knowledge. But I can't make you act on anything, nor am I responsible for anything that you did or did not do, and whether or not you followed it all the way through or not. You're still acting as your own. This is self-governing. Okay, then down here is a link of the seven keys, which are the there's 3 there that are the 1-page documents, as well as some others that are a little bit longer, a few pages in them. That's all in a zip file that you can get it in one. That's great tools to be able to just print out and keep with you as a great bundle to start keeping that refreshing going, reading it and reading it out loud as well so you can hear it. All right, so then when you're ready to correct your status, again, here are some more links to be able to support you of some videos with Terry walking you through this. Here is the link of Terry walking you through if you're going to move forward with the 928s to be able to get more clarity on those documents, to gain more knowledge in who you are and what happened through this process. Then here is, when you are ready, here are options for the paperwork. You do not have to pick, there is no picking all 3. You only need 1 set of paperwork. So you either are going to do it for yourself, a free DIY. Here's the link for if you're wanting to do the basics. There's the link there. If you're wanting to get further in, there is the 928s there as well. If you wanted to input some of the input your info into a document generator so you can then print it out, there's a small fee for that. It's not the Indian Assembly. That's through the Federation that's offering that service. You can either find it at that same link or on the fees tab. It'll has a little green box. It'll say additional item. Click it, and then it'll have a drop down, and then you can select document generator. And there are so much for each of the different bundles. Or you have the option of where that I am helping to support with preparing the paperwork. There's the option of where you provide the data, I prepare it and print it and physically mail it to you. And then, and so there's the link for that. It does not include the recording, witnessing of it, or publishing, anything like that. This is just the preparation and then printing and mailing the documents to you. And then, when you're at the intake portion, you have the choice of whether you're wanting to go to a notary local to you, or if you're wanting me to be the witness for your paperwork. Or there's the option where I support preparing the paperwork and then send it to you in an email as an e-document. And then you are responsible for printing and then following through with the witnessing. And it still has to get recorded, and which is the witnessing, the notarizing of it, and then it still has to get published on a public record. So that's where we can do it through the LRO, Land Recording Office. All right, so if you're wanting to use me as, if you're wanting me as to witness you, notarize your paperwork, here is the link to be able to schedule. You can do it where it's the recording and publishing, to pay for the publishing fee at the same time, and schedule with me for witnessing your documents. Or if you have already gone to a notary and had them notarized, and here's the publishing fee, and then it will give you the information of where to physically mail the documents to do the publishing portion. Okay, so after correcting your status, here are the links, the last two videos on that same page with Terry. And then here is where the Federation has started putting together training courses. So here is a portal to be able to start getting into various trainings offered directly from the Federation. And it very, very informative, so that we can get more clarity on what things look like from the American status as opposed to what we've all been used to as U.S. citizen. Then there's the SIA study course, which Terry was briefly going through in one of the videos there, and that is so once state level, for lack of a better term, banking services come available to the assemblies from the Federation level, the study course there is a requirement, along with at least with having your paperwork. Here's the link. Search Audubon Rights so that you can go, and this is going to be the quickest way to go through her over 4,000 articles. audubonrights.com is all the articles where they're in number order, chronological order, but it's oldest first. So it can take a while to get to the bottom because it is over 4,000. Or you can go here to search audubonrights.com and be able to put in, if you know the article number or parts of the title of it, or keyword, or an overall topic. That is a huge... I've used it so much that I can already start. I can put in SE and it's already got it, pulling it up in the search bar. Then there's also, to be able to support you, is joining with the Indiana Assembly calls and training calls, and there is the link for all of the past calls, things like that. All right, and I want to thank you. Here is my email address, the Assembly web address. Here's the link for the live streams, and the recordings such as this will be posted there once when the call is over, as well as just all of this, bear in mind, we've just started this. Literally, this is the second live stream on YouTube, so bear with us as we're building that aspect. Locals.com group was just started over the holiday weekend. So these things are just coming into play of bringing in to be able to tap into more social tools without getting into so much of their, political aspect. Here again are important links. This is TASA. This is going to have your templates for the documents. Here is the state.americanstatenationals.org. If you know others on other states, the very first page, they can find their state on the map, and they can be able to then connect in with their state coordinator. As well as there's tabs at the top. There's a tab for the previous webinars from Anna that you can be able to go there and view those. Then there's an educational tab. There's a challenge out by Terry. Just start out with 10 minutes a day of just reading. At least try one thing to start with. And of course, obviously, build as you go, of reading just one thing, spending 10-15 minutes for that one thing on that page. There's so much information on that one page to just start working through there. Then here, of course, is AnnaVonWrites.com is all of Anna's articles in chronological order. Oh, and then search Anna Von Writes, where you can do the search. All right. I thank you, and I open up I don't know how well you'd be able to put questions in, but you're welcome to put questions in. Take a few minutes here. Before we wrap up, I'll turn off the that one. Okay, and I will make mine a little bit bigger now so you can hi. All right, let's see. And I don't know if this still shows on the screen. Oh, because it's not showing that now. It won't, without having the display, it doesn't show the chat now. Anyway, okay, so I'm not seeing any questions coming up in the chat. I'll go ahead and we'll wrap this up. I want to thank you very much. And we're starting this on Wednesday nights, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. And once the video is done processing what YouTube does, it will be on the Indiana Assembly channel there, so you'll be able to go and find it there. So I want to thank you very much, and I want to wish you